Welcome to Part 5-2 of this overview of data literacy. We will wrap up our previous discussion about communicating data. Some of the content presented during this video, as well as the previous one, may seem overly focused on aesthetics. However, creating engaging visuals based on the insights gained from data analysis may be one of the most important things you can do to support the decision-making process. In this video, we will focus on structuring a story, as well as the principles of data visualization. Okay, let's get back to storytelling with data. Let's begin this segment by exploring the 6 essential elements of a compelling data story as outlined by Brent Dykes in his book, Effective Data Storytelling. Data foundation. Well, a strong data story is built on solid data, not on opinions or anecdotes. Main point. This is your thesis, the core message you want to convey. Explanatory focus. You got to link your supporting evidence and the facts directly to the main point. Linear sequence. Got to ensure your story has a logical flow. A linear sequence makes it easier for your audience to follow along and understand your points. Dramatic elements include a hook to capture your audience's attention. This is the so what that makes your data story engaging and memorable. Visual anchors. Use graphics to support and reinforce your main point. Visuals can make data more, especially complex data, more understandable and impactful. Human beings are natural storytellers. You've told stories all your life. Now we're just going to change things up a little bit and learn how to tell a story using data. Having addressed the essential elements of a data story, let's discuss when to tell a data story. According to Dykes, the timing and context of your data presentation are crucial. Considerations include whether to be agreeable or unpleasant, or actually whether the circumstances are agreeable or unpleasant. So if your data supports positive, agreeable news, it's a lot easier to communicate. But unpleasant data, such as budget cuts or negative performance, often require a carefully crafted story to convey the message effectively. Conventional versus disruptive. Conventional data aligns with our current practices, our existing beliefs. Straightforward, easy to present. Disruptive data challenges the status quo, necessitating a compelling narrative to help your audience understand and accept the new insights. Expected versus unexpected. Well, if the data meet expectations, simple presentation or story will suffice. Maybe no story is required at all. Unexpected findings, however, demand a well-structured account to explain the surprise and its implications. Simple versus complex. Complex data, especially data sets with multiple variables and intricate relationships, can definitely benefit from someone guiding the audience through the details. Safe versus risky. Risky data, which could provoke strong reactions or emotions or feelings, might have significant implications down the road. That requires, perhaps a more strategic story to manage the audience's response. Inexpensive versus costly. Costly data involve lots of resources and investments, might require a persuasive story to justify the spending. Intuitive versus counterintuitive. Well, counterintuitive data defies expectations as well, and that requires a strong narrative to help the audience see the logic and the value behind your findings. A good analysis sets the stage for deriving proper insights. Here are some questions to consider. Why should the command care? Well, maybe they tell you. Maybe the mission says so. Regulations or doctrine could require it. Perhaps there's a risk to the force or mission. What should the commander do about it? Well, Maybe the goal is to change behavior or take action and use the data to make some sort of decision or inform a decision. Or nothing. Maybe the purpose is just to bring about some awareness. Sometimes the goal is simply to let everyone know what's going on. What is the cost of action or inaction? Well, obviously, there could be financial implications, an impact to equipment or resources, human lives. There could be potential risks or benefits to personnel safety. So the so what is about ensuring your data story has a meaningful, actionable point. Now that we've talked about essential elements and the importance of telling a data story, let's consider an approach you can use to combine all of this together. Freytag's pyramid is useful for crafting compelling data stories. There are 5 stages to Freytag's pyramid. Introduction or exposition. This sets the stage by introducing main characters, the setting, the basic situation. In data storytelling, this could mean providing an overview of the unit's background and key metrics. Rising action. This builds tension through a series of events leading to the climax. For example, a budget report might show trends in historical data and identify periods of significant growth or decline. Climax. The turning point where the main conflict reaches its highest intensity. In a data story, this could be the discovery of a critical insight, like identifying a major driver behind an unexplained maintenance issue. Falling action follows the climax and begins to resolve the conflicts. This can involve discussing actions taken to address the identified issues and their initial outcomes. Conclusion, or the resolution, also called the denouement. This provides closure, summarizing the findings and offering some final recommendations. So by following Freytag's pyramid, you can structure your data stories to be engaging and impactful and effectively communicate complex insights to drive decision-making. The narrative of a story is the particular way the details are told. It's how you will go about telling it. We've been telling stories for a long time, but instead of classics like War and Peace or the history of the Peloponnesian Wars, let's review a more contemporary story. Here is Freytag's pyramid as applied to The Matrix, a 1999 dystopian science fiction film. Now just note that this is only one interpretation. You may have very different ideas on how to describe the events that unfold in the movie if you've seen it before. So in the exposition, the film introduces Thomas Anderson, or Neo, a computer hacker who feels that something is off, and Neo encounters mysterious messages on his computer and is pursued by agents. He meets Trinity and Morpheus. They offer him a chance to learn the truth about the Matrix. Rising action. This is Neo's journey and training. So what's the inciting incident during all of this? Well, how about when Neo takes the red pill and awakens in the real world, discovering the true nature of the Matrix? He joins Morpheus and the crew of the Nebuchadnezzar, who believe that Neo is the one prophesied to end the war between humans and machines. Now, some might say that the climax occurs when Morpheus is captured by agents and Neo and Trinity decide to go rescue him. The action peaks during the iconic lobby shootout and the subsequent helicopter rescue of Morpheus. And then we have Neo's confrontation with Agent Smith in the subway station, which sort of signifies his ultimate acceptance of his destiny. So if we continue along this line of thought, the falling action describes the events after the rescue, but the tension remains high as Neo and crew must return to the real world. And yeah, we could go with that, but I think that Agent Smith's relentless pursuit and final showdown in the Matrix with Neo, that's really the climax, I think. Neo's apparent death and the revival, mark a turning point, demonstrating his power over the Matrix. At the end of the movie, Neo sends a message to the machines declaring that he will show the people a world without boundaries. Whatever your viewpoint, the falling action includes the final battles, and the denouement offers a glimpse of hope and resolution as Neo embraces his role in the fight against the machines. Making a few adjustments and substitutions may help facilitate the use of this model to tell data stories. So instead of introducing characters and their circumstances, we can begin by setting up the problem. This might include some descriptive analysis to give the audience an idea of the basic facts. In data storytelling, the hook could be a compelling statistic or surprising fact that grabs the audience's attention immediately. Rising insights could correspond to the diagnostic analytics, where data points and analyses build up to reveal a deeper understanding and context. The aha moment is the main point or message you want to convey, and that's the critical insight or key message derived from the data. It's the pivotal point where the main finding becomes clear. Accordingly, the solution and next steps boils down to what is the process to fix the problem? This involves presenting actionable recommendations based on the data insights, outlining the steps needed to address the identified issues. Let's go back to our ACFT spreadsheet. In this case, the data sets have been cleaned and wrangled. So perhaps the commander is concerned about how NTC has impacted unit physical fitness. A recent report shows that 29% of all active duty men and 18% of women scored above a 540. From our sample, we might assume that this high-performing battalion's ACFT average is very respectable, maybe over 550. So there's no cause for alarm, but improvement is always possible, right? So suppose we've selected 4 of our data sets to use the variables there to be our independent variables. In other words, we want to see which factors might influence the unit's ACFT scores. Our diagnostic analysis finds that age and BMI are key factors determining ACFT scores at a 95% confidence level. Gender and recent NTC training are not relevant. When building your data story, it's important to identify your aha moment. Without it, there's no need for a story. Our aha statement may be as simple as saying, the data suggests age and BMI influence ACFT scores in our battalion. However, gender and NTC participation were not statistically significant. What is the potential hook? Now that we have our aha moment, we need to build the beginning of our story. The hook needs to capture the audience's attention. Often this is expressed as a problem statement. About 1/3 of the battalion supported the brigade NTC rotation. Our battalion's ACFT average is highly respectable with no apparent impact among soldiers regardless of gender who recently trained at NTC. However, diagnostic analysis suggests that other factors other than NTC may help predict ACFT scores. Now we need to connect the aha moment and the hook. We must help the audience understand how we arrived at that aha moment. So we've shared descriptive and diagnostic analytic results, and we want to focus on 2 or 3 points to help us reach our main point. Often this involves identifying and explaining key findings to preempt questions. For example, we could clarify what it means for BMI and age to be statistically significant in relation to ACFT scores. Likewise, we can highlight the analysis suggesting that training at NTC does not appear to affect ACFT scores. Given their statistical significance, it might be advisable to show how BMI and age work as predictors. This involves demonstrating what could happen as these variables change. If the data are available, comparing current ACFT scores with historical data may also help the audience to contextualize the findings. Prescriptive analysis of the situation will help provide specific recommendations based on the findings to adjust training programs. For example, incorporating more age-specific fitness routines and weight management programs could help address the impact of BMI and age. Let's shift over to visualizing the results of your analysis. This appears to be an intriguing visualization. Take a moment to examine the chart. Is there anything misleading about how the chart is arrayed? Do you think, for instance, the ordering of the dates on the x-axis might be worth questioning? Pause the video and take a look. Tufte's rules comprise 9 points to achieve excellence in data visualization and graphics. Some are self-explanatory, while others require further elaboration. For example, get the viewer to think about the substance or essential parts of your analysis rather than the methodology or the graphic design. Sometimes flashy formats look appealing, but can be a distraction to the audience and your message. Make large data sets coherent. Distilling down a big chunk of data is difficult, and Tufte lamented the lack of professional artists with quantitative skills. Here's a graph depicting about 10,000 messages posted to Facebook under the category of post-breakup message status. Be closely integrated with the statistical and verbal descriptions of the dataset. While your data visualization should be able to speak for itself, you need to have some explanation of the how and the why. Plus, a short write-up may provide you with an opportunity to discuss other interesting findings and, of course, explain why your findings are important in the first place. Cholera deaths. This is one of the most famous examples of data storytelling. In 1854, Dr. John Snow had an aha moment regarding the cholera outbreak in London. Most of his peers believed that cholera was transmitted by air. However, he believed it was transmitted through water. He realized that if he was going to convince his peers, he needed a compelling data story. So Snow took the map of London and drew a black bar for every death reported at each location. He then labeled the broad street pump with a red circle, and then used the dotted red line to outline the walking distance of residents to the pump. The pump represented the epicenter of the outbreak of cases. So here's a closer look. In this annotated version of John Snow's 1854 cholera examination, the red circles represent the locations of cholera deaths. The size of each circle likely indicates the number of deaths at the specific location, with larger circles representing more deaths. At the center of the map, there's a prominent water pump marked in blue. This pump is located on Broad Street, incidentally, which is now called Broadwick Street, which was the focal point of John Snow's investigation. There are other water pumps on the map, also in blue, but they do not show the same level of clustering or red circles around them. Let's return to our original visualization from the beginning of this video. Does it meet Tufte's 9 points? My vote is no. The data are not saying much, and the graphics are distracting and of questionable relevance. According to John Tukey, a famous statistician, no data can be displayed as a pie chart that cannot be displayed in some other chart. I should say, displayed better in some other chart. So, for example, which of these pie charts, for each of these pie charts, which letter is the greatest? It's the biggest part. Well, our brain has a really hard time with angles and making pie charts, and this makes pie charts really difficult for us to compare. So the recommendation here is don't use pie charts. So if our goal is comparison, we can use another chart option like a bar or a column chart. There are many different types of visualizations that one can use. How do you choose the right visualization? Well, it depends on the message and what you want to achieve through the visualization, as well as what type of data are available. These are just a few of the many possibilities organized into different categories. Here's a box plot produced from the ACFT data we looked at. It indicates that while companies Alpha and Bravo have higher median scores, their performance is more variable. In contrast, Company C, Charlie Company, despite having a lower median score, shows more consistent performance among its members. This histogram shows the ACFT dataset's BMI values distribution. This histogram has a kernel density estimate, a KDE plot overlay, depicting the distribution of body mass index values. The KDE curve peaks around a BMI value of about 17 or 18, indicating the most common BMI range. Here are two scatter plots with regression lines illustrating relationships between age and ACFT and BMI and ACFT scores. The scatter plots help visualize the negative correlations between age and ACFT scores and BMI and ACFT scores. And this helps us understand the influences on ACFT performance overall. Here is a short summary and recap of our Data Literacy 101 lessons. The background image is designed to evoke the allegory of Plato's cave, illustrating people becoming enlightened by data literacy. Just as Plato's cave dwellers moved from darkness to light, our journey in DL 101 has been about moving from data ignorance to data enlightenment. All right, that was probably too much. Let's keep going. All right, first, we covered the basic definitions essential for understanding data literacy. We clarified what data is or are, ensuring everyone is on the same page with foundational terminology. We explored what constitutes data and what does not, and this is crucial for correctly identifying and using information in our analyses. Next, we delved into the core fundamentals of data literacy, largely modeled on Jordan Morrow's approach. Morrow emphasized the need to understand data's role in our decision-making processes and the importance of fostering a data-driven culture. Data-driven questions. We learned how to frame effective data-driven questions, and these questions guide our analysis and ensure we focus on relevant and actionable insights. The 4 data analytics, we explored those, descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. But understanding these analytics, these different types of analytics, helps us to summarize past data, identify causes, forecast future events, and recommend actions. Reading data. We discussed techniques for reading and interpreting data accurately. This includes understanding different data formats, visualizations, and the data context. Finally, communicating data. We covered the best practices for communicating data, and learned that effective communication involves presenting data and telling a compelling story that can help drive decisions and actions. So, DL 101 has equipped you with the essential tools and knowledge to become more data literate. By understanding these definitions about what constitutes data, asking the right questions, and applying the 4 types of data analytics, reading data accurately, and communicating insights effectively, you're better prepared to harness the power of data in your organization. Thank you for your attention and engagement throughout these videos.